Well then, let's see. Just who is this man? What's up, guys? That guy with a pencil here from Fat Nubinsu. Oh, shoot! Sorry, Nubinsu, have it on me. And keep it on me at all times. Another fun fact, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know. I mean, the chapter's literally called Who? So I'm guessing Denji doesn't know. I thought it was going to be an important character, but considering Denji doesn't have a reaction here, at least on this first page, and the chapter's called Who, I don't even he knows? Which, you know, like, that's kind of bad, but at the same time, how many people has Denji, like, interacted with, do you think? And remember, presumably this guy who was holding the Flame D, and thank you for the person who corrected me, the Justice D was never inside Fake Summon. It was literally always the Flame D. Like, they told everyone, or it was assumed that it was the Justice D. I forget which exactly it was, whether they told everyone it was the Justice D, but it was actually the Flame D. Justice D was slain, like, forever ago. Like, in fact, we saw their body. We know exactly what they look like. So that, the Justice D was, like, never at all actually associated with Fake Summon, I don't believe. So, thank you for that correction. But with that being the case, I'm assuming Denji doesn't remember, and I don't remember, but we know this guy was at least affected by Denji, right? Because presumably he became part of the Chainsaw Man Church. So I think this is tackling... Honestly, it's interesting. Once again, we've been following Denji, and very specifically his journey of like, hey, what are you going to be? You going to be a heroic human, or just a wild D, or somewhere in between? And notably, Denji has been dancing back and forth across the in-between line for like ever. So I'm guessing we're going to further tackle that here with the Flame D. But once again, what is the Flame D's point in that case? I'm guessing if they're like, you don't remember him? And Denji's going to be like, no, I have no idea who that is. Is the Flame D going to be like, oh, well, that means you're just like us D's. You don't remember the individual humans you interact with. And Denji could probably just be like, do you know how many people I've talked to? How many people I've passed? How many people I've saved? Huh? Like if you were to ask me, how many people I've, like, spoken to in my life, like had at least one full conversation with, I couldn't tell you the number. It's probably well over 1,000 at this point, just because of, like, what I've done in the past. I've traveled the world, I tried to talk to a bunch of people. But, like, if you were to show me one of those people that I don't consistently talk to and be like, who's that? Dog, I'm bad. It takes me, like, a month to learn somebody's name if I'm talking to them consistently. You want me to remember someone's name from, like, a long time past? I don't know. But let's not waste some more time. Let's hop right into chapter 205. Who? Let's see. Guy's head's on the ground. Denji's looking. He turns. Let's see. The Flame D's just like... Oh, and someone pointed out an interesting detail. Not just the, It was something about what the dress was made out of. Someone said... I forget what the dress is, like, possibly representing and how that also plays into Flame. But Flame does have, like, one of the best designs in the series. I do agree. I saw a lot of people giving Flame some good glaze, and I agree. The Fire D does have a fantastic design, and very, very understated, I'd say. Like, obviously, you know, it's a gargantuan flaming head, so, like, it's not the most understated thing out there. But very specifically with the campfire and the bramble as the basis, once again, sort of representing, like, the earliest forms of fire, sticks and trees that were lit on fire by lightning. And then the loosely humanoid figure, once again, tying how important fire is to humans, right? Because, like, I'd say we were definitely using tools in general before we discovered fire. But, like, the discovery of fire is what has allowed us to do so much. From, cooking. Cooking as a concept didn't really exist until we got some sort of mastery over fire. So fire really is the basis of a lot of human, like, interaction and, like, the modern world, essentially. So Flame having a loosely humanoid design like this and seemingly a good degree of influence and power just generally does make sense. And also, fire, hot, scary, and burn. So I get why they're also relatively powerful. But let's see. Denji, what you got? What you got, my boy? Yeah, I have no idea who that is either. I'm scanning real hard right now. Someone said it could be like a guy from the start of the series. I got nothing. Let's see. I don't know if this is a moral purity test or anything, but who's he? Flame is like, watch Flame be like, actually, I don't know either. I have no idea who this guy is. I thought you would know. but let's see. You don't know? Then I'll remind you. Interesting. Okay, so Flame does, and you know what, once again, with how complicated the many D's and their emotions and feelings have been relative to humanity as a whole, right? Like, we have our more basic Ds that are like, humans? You mean toys, aka fodder, aka things we can mess with? Yeah, I love humans. But there has also been those who have, like, complex relationships to humans. Like, obviously, Yoru didn't have complex relationships with humans at first, but she developed one because she literally fused with one. Makima had a weird and interesting dynamic with humans, caring for them in the loosest way possible. But that's another idea of, like, a weird relationship towards humans. Obviously, death itself is like, I don't want to, like, wipe all y'all out with my subconscious abilities. I make completely really. So, like, death has not even all the horsemen have weird relationships to humans. Obviously, Nayuta, because she was, like, literally raised by a hybrid human, and then even Fami herself does want to save people, but she does save people by giving them the Gigasuck. So, like, I know some people would like the Gigasuck, but not a good way to save people, in my honest opinion. So those are those are the four horsemen, right? But what about the other Ds that have interesting relationship to humans? Aging was super duper weird, generally speaking, in their relationship to humans. Just the idea of, hey, I believe in human potential. I believe in you. Let's just stay here forever. I'll make sure you never perish. You're starting to trees. I want to know why, and I want to see what you can evolve beyond. It's like there have been a bunch of different complex dynamics introduced with these regards to humans. I think part 2 definitely has a much broader exploration of that. I think a lot of the part 1 Ds, they are kind of just like, man, I hate humans, I just wipe them. But from Flame to Aging to all the horsemen, like, all of them have really interesting dynamics. And it's interesting that Flame would go as far to remember. Obviously, this was their host, so maybe that's why they feel a little bit particular about it. But still, very neat to see. So they light up the flame. Once, there was a pair of kind-hearted twin brothers. The twins found me, an injured D. Injured by who? How? Who? What injured you? Are you fire? Like, you should be relative. What were you fighting? Like, I'm not saying fire is gonna be, like, in the upper things, just because, once again, because of modern society, we've like tamed fire a lot. Like, sure, it's still horrifying. Like, you ever seen a wildfire before? I haven't, but I've seen video and photos, and they are humongous, very scary. But fire is like a tool, so I guess maybe it wouldn't be the most powerful, but at the same time, it's fire. What were you fighting? Why were you fighting? When did you manifest? What? Let's see. The twins found me, an injured D, and took me in, saving me. While treating my injuries, the twins often told me about Chainsaw Man. Even a D can become a symbol of hope, as long as you have justice in your heart, like Chainsaw Man, they said. They urged me to join them, to do the right thing together. Okay. So once again, we're tackling Denji's legacy and the whole idea of his heroism versus who he is of himself. And once again, that is always an interesting thing to tackle. It's one of my favorite things, like, all superhero media does. And it's funny because, like, Chainsaw Man technically is a superhero manga, which is weird to think, but, like, it is technically like a superhero manga. It's kind of MHA without the school, if you know what I'm talking about. And even then, it has some school aspects, but the reason I say that is because there's always, like, no matter who the hero is, there's always someone with a different perspective on them, right? Even if sometimes the perspective is from their villains and it doesn't seem valid, but, like, they're just people who look at certain heroes certain ways. Like, obviously, I think the ones with some of the most interesting multi-ring, multi-viewed perspectives are, like, your Batmans, your Supermans, your Wonder Womans, your Spider-Man, where, like, well, essentially the superhero Mount Rushmore, right? Where you have many people who love them, glaze them, appreciate them, and yet many people look at them as, like, problems or issues. And not just their villains, but, like, just regular civilians will be like, some will say, yeah, I love Batman. The other ones will be like, I hate Batman. And same thing with all other major superhero. Except, once again, there is a fundamental difference between someone like a Batman and a Superman, and Wonder Woman's debatable. She'd be catching bodies. And a Spider-Man, which is sometimes debatable because he'll occasionally catch a body. But Denji, very specifically, is a hero. And I really, like, I can remove the quotation marks. Denji is a hero. But he's not your traditional hero. He's a hero who is very... And it's funny, because I don't even think Denji would consider it this way. He's very utilitarian, right? As long as the major threat that could wipe out a large portion of humanity gets stopped, it kind of doesn't matter how many people perish, because, you know, the big thing got stopped. The big thing gets stopped, we're chilling, right? Like, that's kind of how Denji views things. It's very, once again, very utilitarian. The idea of, hey, you're sacrificing one guy or 5 guys. Burgers and fries. You gotta pull that lever. And Denji's always pulling the lever to get rid of the one guy because it saves more people. And in many ways, that's fine, especially considering where Denji's at, like, mentally. But with that being the case, it leads to scenarios like this, where certain people view him one way, and then, you know, by proxy of his influence, very wild and uncontrolled, could lead to certain things like the extreme fanaticism, right? Where some people view him in the way that they're like, oh yeah, we can do whatever we want as long as for the greater sake of the world, right? And then that leads to the whole idea of the Chainsaw Man Church. And it looks like because of his influence, Flame was then influenced by two people who were influenced by him. And then, let's see, I emphasized with their message and took action. I made contracts with those with justice in their hearts, granting them the ability to transform into the shape of their justice. I remember the first time the sun saved someone with my power, like it was yesterday. They both looked incredibly proud. Very interesting. I guess the reason Flame can do this in particular is because of what Flame kind of is, right? When you look at Fire, the one thing that's consistent about it is its inconsistency. If you see a perfectly still fire, you're looking at a painting or a picture of fire. Fire itself is always wild, ebbing and flowing, eating up at the oxygen around it, burning itself to the core, like whatever is currently acting as basis. It's consistently burning. Fire's ever changing and ever shaping. And obviously, that's like the literal definition of fire, but even colloquially, fire is always like a symbol of power and strength and like the thing to light the path and light the way. So Flame likely having the ability to mutate individuals based on the form of their justice is like a person essentially lighting their soul ablaze and then mutating. In this case, many people mutate directly into Chainsaw Man, or at least as close as they can muster, because once again, I assume it's all based on their own willpower plus their own innate power plus how deeply they are contracted. Obviously, we had the brother who was fully mutated into Fake Saw Man, right? Like he got, if anything, a greater transformation, seemingly just because of his sheer scale and size and power, because they were the closest to the source of the fire, aka Flame D itself, and on top of their extreme devotion. But once again, it's all about what your legacy really means. How do people interpret it? Denji wasn't out there policy managing or anything like that. Makima was doing that for the most part, and only to nerf Chainsaw Man, if anything. So, without any of that, Chainsaw Man kind of can just be interpreted whatever way you look at him. And of course, there are 50 billion different ways you can interpret Chainsaw Man. He could be a menace. He could be the greatest savior to all mankind. You never know. But they viewed him as justice. And very specifically, the thing that probably lent them to, extreme violence and saving through slaughter is very specifically Denji's style of combat and his style of heroism. Once again, and justify the means, utilitarianism to the moon and back, by proxy, I'm assuming they caught a couple bodies. Let's see. They both looked incredibly proud. And then, one day, you appeared. Okay. So it is so people were right. This is a guy from the start of the series. Very specifically, start of part 2. What this is, I forget which chapter exactly it is, but it's after we had that little introduction with Awesome, we were building up to Denji. This is where Denji ends up saving the cat instead of saving the people, right? I remember that was like a whole thing at the start where he valued the life of a cat over the lives of human people. Let's see. As if there are other types of people. Let's see. Why do I keep saying, let's see, I need to stop? And then, one day, you appeared. During your battle with the cockroach, it grabbed the younger brother. It's so crazy how, but then again, I guess fear, right? Like, a lot of people are very scared of bugs, and then by proxy cockroaches. It's crazy how huge this thing was. It grabbed the younger brother. You let his younger brother die to save a cat. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? It's not even like Denji has perfect utilitarianism. He really doesn't. But I still say he's more utilitarian in the grand scheme of things. And also, it's weird, right? I would say that Batman has like the moral code of moral code. To the point where there's a moment in DC Comics where the Joker taunts Richard Grayson, Nightwing, about Jason Todd's death. And Nightwing offs him. Like all of his like combat training kicks in, and I forget if he like crushed his trachea Why does it do that? I forget if he like crushed his trachea with one of his eskrima sticks, or if he like I forget the exact context of the encounter, but he basically killed the Joker, right? Batman shows up, and he doesn't just be like, "Is everything okay?" "Oh no, Joker's dead." He very specifically goes out of his way to revive the Joker. Like he goes out of his way to like unbreak his trachea and like give him. And I don't think he uses mouth to mouth, but like essentially he saves the Joker's life, and he's done that a couple times before. And that's like the highest degree of moral code and moral compass. He doesn't just want to save people. He wants to make sure people don't die around him. Now, of course, that has many negative effects later on, but that's Batman. That's why I say he's like the peak to peak. Then you get to a Superman, where he's willing to boom people if they're a threat to like creation. And admittedly, Batman does that too. Like once again, he did in Final Crisis. He boomed Darkseid, but still, they're like the higher echelon. Then you get to a Wonder Woman, who's still definitely above Denji in the whole moral code thing. But Wonder Woman will not hesitate to boom somebody if they're trying to boom other people. Very utilitarian. One life to save many lives. Denji is down here, below like a Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, definitely below Superman and Batman. And he's down here, where he saves who he wants to save. And it 9 out of 10 times ends up being utilitarian. But there is a case like this. But, of course, you could argue Denji views it as a life is a life. And he chose a life. He chose the cat over the guy. Who's to say a human life has more value than a cat life? I would think a human life has more value than an animal life, but humans are animals too. We all are. So, if Denji made that choice, that's the choice he was allowed to make based on how he viewed it. Of course, is Denji the perfect hero protagonist? No. That's kind of the point, though. He's a very imperfect hero. And it leaves him in this spot where he makes these choices that just don't make sense. But they make sense for his character. And I think that's that good balance. Once again, it goes into the idea that part 2's kind of been going back and forth on. And you can argue a good part of part 1 is about this too. But I definitely say part 2, hey, Denji, what are you, man? That's essentially... And you know what? Not even what. Who are you, Denji? Who is Chainsaw Man? How do you define yourself? So this chapter title, that's kind of like a double entendre here. Because it isn't just saying who, as in like, who is this guy? But it's who is in Denji, who are you? How are you, a hero, who can inspire these two boys to do great things and save and protect those, like the Flame Tea of all things, and then you let one of them die, even though they believe so heavily in you? What does that make you? What kind of hero does that make you? What kind of person does that make you? And Denji's answer will always be interesting, right? Because what is he? Even he has this moral conflict as of recent with the whole idea of Yoru booming that random woman he was trying to save because he was trying to save her, right? Why do that? What are you? Who are you? That is, once again, I do love it. I love a good internal character conflict question, and very specifically a question about who somebody is. Notably, because I always be wondering, like, who am I? What am I? How am I? Why am I? To quote Drax. But like, legitimately, I do always wonder, like, you know, who am I? How do I define myself? Not so much like, what is my purpose in life thing, but like, what am I? I have a basis. I have like a definition of who that guy with the pencil is, but it's not like the most firm and fine thing. My actions vary all the time. I have different like moral stances and opinions, so I always do wonder that. And that's why I think I appreciate so much when a story will go out of its way to be like, hey, buddy, especially when a character is as like flip-flopping controversial as Denji, Lord. It makes it interesting when characters in universe like, dude, what are you? What are your morals? What are you doing? I'm like, why are you like this? And that's a question that does get danced around in Dragon Ball. I know a lot of people say, oh, Dragon Ball doesn't have any character writing. Goku is consistently asked, brother, what are you doing? What are you talking about? He consistently makes selfish choices that usually end up working out, but sometimes they end up failing. Because he's selfish and stupid and so sometimes. So I do love a good character conflict when the narrative is like, hey, you're making these choices. Why are you making them? What does that make you? How will this affect you? And now we're seeing how this affected. Ultimately, if Denji, I'm guessing what happened here, Denji didn't save this kid, and then the other brother got really, really mad, went on to form the Chainsaw Man Church, and then bada bing, bada boom, the entire current calamity is happening because of him. Because of a choice he made. But let's see. To save a cat. Remember his face now. Denji's like, I still don't know. Let's see. Did you not even look at him? This man idolized you, and you betrayed him. He lived for revenge on you, yet you can't even remember his face. Ah, okay, so we really are going into like what Denji is. What it is, what it is. You're D, after all. But no, but that's the thing. No, because like, even this isn't even like a supernatural thing. There are people who don't care about the value of human life. Well, like let's be completely honest. There are many people who do not care about the value of human life, or don't see all human life as equally valuable. They see some people as superior to others, and I think that's wrong. I think we all bleed the same color. I think we all will eventually die one day, and we all are bound by the same physiological limitations. So I think all human life is equal in value. But there are people who believe in levels and variances, and there are situational times where some life is valued over others, and bada bing, bada boom. So that's still like an innately human thing. And if anything, saving anything isn't in a D's nature, right? Ultimately, at least from our understanding of D so far, Denji's willingness to save a cat over this man is something that a D wouldn't do. Once again, it's why Denji, I think his writing is solid and good as a character, because you can't really define him as either. He has D tendencies, he has human tendencies. He truly is a hybrid in that sense. And like the willingness and determination to either sacrifice or betray people, that's very human. I feel like almost everyone's been betrayed at least once in their life, whether it be in a major or minor way. That just happens. Humans do be humaning sometimes. So like, I don't know. I don't think this is good. But and let's see what Denji has to say to that. Because ultimately, I think the Flame D is kind of wrong. At least in this case, unless it's trying to admit that even Ds have human tendencies. But then again, that once again blurs the line between those two. But then again, all sentient creatures technically should have like a blurred line. Let's see. I'll be completely real with you, man. I could not care less. You here to tell me to apologize? Yeah, I'm about to say, what, apologize to the head? I was like, wrong. After this, you're going to choose between two options again. But then again, Flame D, are you sure you want smoke? What diffed you? Unless it was the big D themselves, who diffed you? You were already in a far state where you had to be cared for by these two random humans anyway. Who do you think you are? Huh? Especially if you spent this entire period amping Denji, like who do you think you are? What, talking smack? Watch it. Don't get cooked now. Watch it. Something like I'm not saying Denji's gonna go absolutely buku bonkers and like stab this thing's neck or anything, but like, whoa there, Captain Save a Human. Like, let's be real. Who you talking to? But see, after this, you're going to choose between two options. Again, not these two options, though, just two options. This time, don't make the same mistake. So once again, very interesting. The Flame D is, once again, one of the few Ds that is, don't ask why I have this. Oh, you know exactly why I have this. It's really weird. But, very interesting. The Flame D, due to its experiences, does value humanity. And very specifically views Denji's choice to act in a way, even if I think it is actually, even if I think it is actually pretty human for a human to, do you know how many people, like, and I don't want to go too deep into it, but do you know how many people value animal lives and like pet lives over human lives? It's not uncommon. The amount of people who I've seen care more for dogs and cats than I've seen care for humans, it like, once again, it's kind of to each their own, so I'm not gonna say it bothers me, but I don't, like, that's kind of crazy to me. What do you mean you value dogs like more than humans? And don't get me wrong, I had 2 dogs. I loved them. They were my siblings, essentially, gosh darn it. They couldn't speak. That didn't matter. I loved them deeply. But a human? Versus a human? I don't know. Maybe that's wrong of me. That's the thing. That's the honestly twisted beauty about human perspective and perspective in general, right? Like, I find it weird that people value human life or animal lives more than human lives. But someone may find it weird that I value human lives more than animal lives. Anyway. So, like, it is truly a matter of perspective. There's no, like, moral high ground I can put on that. Like, yeah, sure, humans are sentient. Okay, but so are some animals. Like dolphins and I think, like, some whales, like orca whales. And elephants, I believe, are, like, sometimes argued to be sentient. And I believe sentient is, like, being able to recognize yourself as separate. Not just see, like, another animal there. So, like, there are levels of sentience. Levels of comprehension and cognition, like, that do exist in animals, but like, as much as I love elephants, I'm not valuing that over a human life. But that stuff does happen. But once again, the Flame D is more so aligning with humanity in a way, showing their own internal humanity by viewing what Denji did as a mistake and now telling them to not make it. They are still mad at Denji, but even then, just joking about, they know they're not built for the ones. They know very specifically they're not built for the ones right now. They're like, hey, you're got to make a choice again. After this is all on you, buddy. I'm done. You just slayed my hoe. I'm chilling. I'm vibing. You gotta figure out what you're gonna do. And that's the thing. That's at kind of like, once again, the core of part 2. It isn't just, hey, what is Denji based on his actions? But what does Denji think he is based on his actions? And what should he do? Should Denji still be a hero? Should he evolve beyond that concept? Should he keep living within it? What path should he take? Is there a path he needs to walk on his own? That's kind of been the core of it. And Denji's choices sort of being a big defining factor of not just part 1, obviously, but very much part 2, where he's kind of been on and off a leash. Once again, he's kind of been doing his own thing. He hasn't had mentor figures. He hasn't had anyone that's really guided him. He's only been gaslit, gatekept, and girl boss a couple times. It's a realistic conflict. Let's see. For real? What mistake? And see, like, that's the thing. He doesn't even view it as a mistake. In that moment, he valued the cat more, right? And that's... And once again, I personally don't agree with that. But that's me. That's me. That's me. What do you, like, do you agree with me and the flame... Crazy, I'm gonna agree with the D right now. But, like, do you agree with me and the flame D that ultimately saving the... And like, let's say that the boy had no connection to Chainsaw Man. No reference to him or anything. Very specifically, who would you save if you were in Denji's position? Would you save a human or would you save a cat? Personally, I'm always going to try to save the human, but I know there are some people who would save the cat. And of course, you can always make the scenario more complex. What if it was your cat? What if it was your dog versus a random human? Who are you going to save? Unfortunately, I still think I'd save the human as much as I love my own dogs, just because I value human life that highly. But I know some people don't, especially once it gets personal, right? It all goes, and that's even like the complications of the what's it called? I literally talked about utilitarianism. What's it called? The trolley problem, right? Sure, you may be very, very willing to grab and pull the lever to slaughter one person instead of the 5 that are on the other track. Well, if it's 5 strangers versus your lover, your wife, your husband, your sibling, your parent, like, once again, it gets complicated. So complicated. I'm not gonna go too deep into it because I'm scared of the tribal. But with it being the case, let's see. For real? What mistake? Darn. All right, Yoru, you got that? What's up? What's wrong, Yoru? I thought you were supposed to be dipping falling right now. Yoru, because I saw a bunch of people have faith in Yoru. I still don't have faith in Yoru. I think Yoru's going to get violated by falling. But let's see. Boom. Oh, yep, and Flame just leaves. Yeah. So they know they're not built for that. They know they're not built for that. Very specifically, Flame was like, I'm not. I ain't getting boomed today. I already had to recover from a weekend's day before. I'm not doing that again. So Flame dips. But they did drop their opinion on Denji. And I think it is very poignant that it's a D that comes to Denji who's like, you messed up by not valuing human life. Once again, the idea that these both halves of Denji, the side of him that more so aligns with like D mentalities and the side of him that more aligns with human mentalities, they're consistently like being questioned by the opposite. It's been a lot of the D's that are like, hey Denji, how human are you, bruh? And it's been a lot of the humans that have been like, hey Denji, how D are you, bruh? So like that back and forth, they've all been pounding Denji with these questions. And so far, he hasn't really formulated an answer because he barely understands he's being asked a question that matters to him. Like he said, what mistake? It doesn't matter to him. Which is like, once again, very sick and twisted in a way. But Denji's human. Unfortunately, humans are very complex creatures with a lot of different emotions. We'll see. Huh? Chainsaw Man! Oh. What happened, Yoru? What happened, Yoru? I thought you were supposed to be dipping falling, huh? I thought you got your gains up enough to kill her. Huh? You better not ask for help. You better run her fade. You better run her fade right now. No. Denji, don't help. Denji, stand down. Put the chainsaws down, young man. Let her cook. She's in the kitchen right now. Let her whip up a meal with that building sword. I need to see it. Let's see. You know, admittedly though, Yoru is very much unharmed. So they do seem fine, but they clearly aren't doing anything to Bully. I haven't lost yet. Darn, she's sweating buckets though. You sure about that? Do you wish to save me? Could you speak up? Do you wish to save me? Your answer. Please don't tell me this is gonna accidentally awaken Pochita Black, bruh. Why did I call him Pochita Black? Please don't tell me he's gonna awaken True Chainsaw Man. Because remember, like, the whole thing is if someone asks to be saved by Chainsaw Man, he appears and then slaughters them. Let's see. Do you wish to save me? Your answer. Huh? Oh, yes, ma'am. Let's see. Then save me if you can. And Falling, yo. Oh, Falling's posted up like, who you saving? Who you saving, huh? Who you saving, gang? You want smoke? You want smoke? Put him up right now. Yo. Falling with the aura farming? Beautiful. I'm glad Asa lost. I'm glad. I ain't gonna lie. A lot of y'all have way too much faith in Yoru. A lot of y'all have way too much faith in. I was like, really? Y'all think she's that strong? I don't think so. Same person was getting different. But then again, a lot of people were making good arguments for why Yoru would probably do better than we think. Because not only is she gotten a whole bunch stronger, and aging was very specifically like, kind of like a Hax Beast more so. And definitely Falling is a Hax Beast in of herself too. But like, aging was definitely like, we'll pause time and then delete you. And it was only, couldn't use their powers in their own realm. So like, that was it. I do get that. But once again, with them doing nothing to aging, and aging not even really being like a primordial, but Falling being a primal VR, I was kind of hoping, like, it would have been crazy, considering how much they were struggling last arc with near primal or non-primal, for them to do anything to a primal. But it looks like, it doesn't even look like Asa did Yoru did any damage. Which is crazy, but hey, you know, I'll take a little calm, little power shield. I wonder how Denji's gonna get out of this, bro. That made me cook. But overall, a W chapter. I like it. Once again, it is truly the thesis of part 2. And I think, because once again, a thesis statement sort of asks a question. Denji's going to give us an answer before part 2 ends. He's going to give us an answer before part 2 ends. What is he? And notably, I don't think the answer will be as simple as he is a hybrid. I think it's going to be something complex. You could definitely argue that's the basic answer, but it's really considering how Flame goes on to critique him. And very specifically, Denji just cannot fathom what the mistake even is. And Flame doesn't even stick around to be like, you idiot, this is a mistake. They don't even elaborate. It's another series of character in this universe being like, hey, Denji, who are you? Who is Chainsaw Man? Who's the man behind Chainsaw Man? What does he think? What are his views on heroism? What makes one life more valuable than another? Once again, it's all these complicated questions being asked towards a relatively simple character. And he just doesn't have an answer for it yet. And ultimately, I think when he overcomes death, because he's probably, you know, main character stuff, I don't see Chainsaw Man having like a Giga Dark ending. I think he'll finally have his answer. I'm interested to see what that is. And once again, I'm very interested to see what Yoru's role is to play in all this. Especially if she's meant to be our true final villain, even above death itself. She needs to get her gains up, dog. This is embarrassing. But overall, a fantastic chapter. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, please leave Blazing War. Leave Blazing War in the comment section down below. I did thank you so much for watching. Please remember to leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure the notifications so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, you can have a picture down below where you support me for as well as one things like exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as well as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. So those perks include the live reactions to the series I'm to review, average reactions of all my videos. If you become a $12 patron or a $12 member, you can order whatever video you want. Also, the link to my Ko-Fi in the description down below. You can drop 5 minutes for a short video, turn it being a long video, or any views at all. Any support is always greatly appreciated. Now, I'd like to thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off. I'd like to give a thank you to our sketch tier members: Eternal Flame, Red Wolf 4765, Astro, Super Flame Zero, Glacier, XZ, Zera, Brendan Payne, J2MA, Guillaume, Buddha Uda, Alex Kenny, Yuki Ally, Enzo, Nevis97, Zachary Wilson, Azo2404, Planet Crone, Rye Rich, and G Prosper. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our line art tier patrons: Sean, Midnight Lord 21, Kevin Encarnacion, Dread Zoen, and A+A. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our Ink tier members: Austin Wimberly, A. Uchiha, and Shrimpo the Shrimp. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our digital art tier members: J Warrior and AZ Void. Then, I'd like to give a thank you to our colored art tier patrons: Waki Munoz and Waki Munoz. And I think the final Giga Super Gargantuan Legendary Ultimate and even further beyond thank you to our ultimate tier, that guy with a pencil tier patron, Calvin Elder.